What would you say is the most important day of the Jewish year? I recently put this question to two 21st century authorities, Google and my Facebook friends. Facebook came up with the following suggestions: Seder night, Purim, Yom Kippur, Shabbat, the 23rd of December, and today. Now, today, Purim, and Yom Kippur all find support in classical and contemporary Jewish sources, and I'm sure we can easily think of reasons for choosing Seder night or Shabbat. As for the 23rd of December, no, it's not Hanukkah. It's the first day of Limud Festival 2018, and a little bit of sneaky marketing on the part of one of my Facebook friends. Google came up with another date in the secular calendar, the 20th of October. Rabbi Shlomo Yaffe chose this date because, at the time of writing, it was the day after Simchat Torah. He pointed out that if the weeks of praying more intensely and giving charity more generously than usual, of being inspired by the shofar and uplifted by Yom Kippur, and of rejoicing with our friends and communities on Sukkot and Simchat Torah, if all of this does not lead to real change in the way we behave on the day after the festivals, then they have missed their entire goal. The idea that the most important day in the Jewish calendar is always today finds support in the halachic literature. In the 16th century, Rabbi David ben Zimra, the Radbaz, ruled that a prisoner who had permission to return to his community for only one day of the year should not wait for Yom Kippur or Purim or for any other festival, but should return as soon as possible, so that he could fulfill regular daily mitzvot, such as praying with a minyan. Returning to the 21st century, a more poetic response in favor of today was offered by one of my Facebook friends, who added this explanation: you never know when you may have the opportunity to do a mitzvah that you were put in the world to do. Much as I like the today answer, there's another option that I would like to consider, one that is suggested both by the 20th century Jewish philosopher Emmanuel Levinas and by an episode of The West Wing entitled The Day Before. The title refers to Erev Yom Kippur. Northern Exposure, another award-winning American television series from the 1990s, also included an episode in which the storyline focuses on the run-up to Yom Kippur. In So Far, So Good, after firing his assistant and refusing to help a neighbor whose house is burnt down, the main character, displaced New Yorker Dr. Joel Fleischman, has a Dickensian Yom Kippur experience. Like Ebenezer Scrooge, he is visited in the night by an apparition. A ghostly version of his rabbi shows him his past, his irascible present, and his lonely, friendless future. Sure enough, this leads to Joel seeking to do tshuva. We see him running towards the closing gates and arriving, but too late. The gates of prayer, the gates of heaven, are locked. But all is not lost. Joel awakens and opens the window. He learns from a passerby that today is Yom Kippur. He hasn't missed it. He spends the day in prayer, alone in the awe-inspiring Alaskan landscape. And the day after Yom Kippur, we see that Joel is a better man, more generous, more empathetic, kinder. So did Yom Kippur work for Joel? Well, yes and no. Yes, he seems to have genuinely done tshuva, to have repented. But something was missing, something highlighted in the West Wing episode. The Yom Kippur reference comes right near the end of the episode. President Bartlett is in the Oval Office with his closest advisors. He has a difficult phone call to make, and they are giving him some pretty lame advice. Bartlett changes the subject. Reporting on a conversation from earlier in the evening, he says, "This guy at the dinner, he told me something I didn't know. On Yom Kippur, you ask forgiveness for sins against God. But on the day before, you ask forgiveness for sins against people." He looks over at Toby, who is Jewish, and asks, "Did you know that?" Toby says, "Yeah, it's called," he has to think about it, "Erev Yom Kippur." Bartlett nods and repeats, "You can't ask forgiveness of God until you've asked forgiveness of people on the day before." A little bit of background here. If you have hurt or upset someone, you don't have to wait until Erev Yom Kippur to apologize. The Shulchan Aruch says that it is a din of Yom Kippur that you must seek forgiveness from anyone you have wronged. However, as the Mishnah Berurah clarifies, you can and should seek forgiveness on any day. It's just that on every other day of the year, it's not a sin to put off the apology until tomorrow. It's only on Erev Yom Kippur itself that it's a requirement to apologize if you haven't done so already. In his Talmudic commentary on Yoma 85a and 85b, Emmanuel Levinas highlights the significance of this aspect of Yom Kippur. He emphasizes the Mishnah's teaching that the prayer, repentance, and fasting of Yom Kippur bring about the erasure of sins against God, but not atonement for sins against our fellow human beings. Was Joel forgiven on Yom Kippur? Although he seemed to regret his actions, he didn't apologize, and he didn't seek forgiveness from his neighbors. Yom Kippur is often referred to as the holiest day of the year. Franz Rosenzweig commented that it gives us a glimpse of eternity in the midst of time. And another one of my Facebook friends asked, without this annual day for forgiveness and a clean start, how could we keep going? But as President Bartlett appreciated, Yom Kippur just doesn't work without Erev Yom Kippur. So is Erev Yom Kippur the most important day of the year? Levinas says that having Yom Kippur, a set day in the calendar dedicated to repentance, is what makes repentance possible every day. Drawing inspiration from the Mishnah Berurah, we might say something similar about Erev Yom Kippur. That annual deadline can impress upon us the importance of righting wrongs and mending relations with other people, and doing so every day. Life would be impossible if we tried to live every day as if it were Yom Kippur. But living every day as if it were Erev Yom Kippur, as if there were a genuine, imminent deadline that required us to mend our relationships with friends, family, and colleagues before it's too late. That's something we might aspire to today. Shana Tova, and thank you for tuning in.